And welcome back to another episode of the Amazin Citi, episode 41, I believe. I'm trying to keep track now after you said last year was 40. So now it's been a lot better job of keeping track, keeping things nice and tidy over here. But as always, Antonio Slater and Jack Ramsey. It's a big episode here. This is less than 1 week before the trade deadline, so a lot to get into. The Padres series, the acquisition of Daniel Vogelbach, the trade of Colin Holderman in that deal, Subway series coming up, and of course, like I said before, trade deadline is fast approaching with the Mets being in the middle of every rumor possible. Jack, how we doing, bud?
I'm doing well. Just excited for the deadline. This is the time of year that, as a baseball fan, you want to be excited for this time of year and not depressed or weary of it.
Right.
No, you don't want to be the team. You never want to be the team selling off parts. So this is, I think, year 4 in a row of the Mets being buyers.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to count their 2020 splashes of Miguel Castro, Robinson Chirinos, Todd Frazier. But
I forgot about Robinson Chirinos being a Met.
I'll never forget about it. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time. Mets have already made a move. They brought in Vogelbach. We were talking about it before we came on. It feels like Trey Mancini is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
You just wonder if it comes down to the Mets trying to convince the Orioles to budge on Jorge Lopez. Baltimore's in a weird spot. That is a team that can legitimately contend next year. But
can they legitimately contend next year, though? I know before we started recording, we had like a docket, but you really think they can legitimately contend? Now, when you say contend, do you mean for a postseason spot or for a World Series? Because for a World Series, I'm gonna say no and strongly disagree with you.
I'm gonna say they can contend for a postseason spot.
Okay.
And I think the team that makes the most sense for Luis Castillo is the Baltimore Orioles.
Interesting.
If Baltimore can do that without giving up Gunnar Henderson or Grayson Rodriguez, you just forget at some point you're going to have Henderson come up and man shortstop for 10 years.
Right.
Your staff is going to be anchored by Grayson Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
If you can go into next year with Luis Castillo and Grayson Rodriguez as your 1 and 2, you fill in a third, maybe you go get like a Taiwan Walker. You fill in a legitimate number 3, and they have some good arms in that pen. On top of in the lineup, you already have Ryan Mountcastle, Adley Rutschman, you have Cedric Mullins. It's not a bad team. It is a solid team that can pitch, but they are just missing the bats.
This is a team that, especially at home, I feel like it is wildly playing over their heads. Because I mean, they're in a sense they're like the new age Colorado, where their home road splits pitching wise are starkly different. They can still pitch pretty well on the road, but when they're in Camden Yards now, because of the new left field pushback 1.5 miles, they're one of the better pitching teams in baseball. Dean Kramer, Spencer Watkins, they've stepped up in a big way. John Means is still hurt, but I mean, that's another potential arm. I don't know what his contract standing is, but I don't know if they can.
I don't know his either. That's why I didn't mention him.
But they got, like you said, they got arms. Jorge Lopez, Dylan Tate, what's the guy? Felix Bautista, I think the guy's name is. That guy's got a sinker that just falls off the table like insane. So they could pitch for sure, but I'm not. The reason why I think they're trading Trey Mancini because they're in a weird spot because they're a couple games out of the wild card. They're at 500. They're 500. They're in last place by 20 games.
Why do you think they're?
Well, let's face it, they're not going to win with Mancini. Even if they give him like a 3-year deal, they're not going to realistically win a title in that span.
Well, no, and I don't think you really let mediocre success kind of throw off your plans for the current year.
Right.
I mean, it's also not act like Trey Mancini is some like world beater. I mean, he's got hitting 268, 345, 404 with 9 homers. It's a 750 OPS with 9 homers.
Right. But the 9 homers would be significantly more if he were playing in literally any other ballpark.
Right, of course. And you factor that in. But it's not like he's
not Juan Soto.
He's not going to come in and be Cespedes Baez. I think he's a lot closer to like the ads you make to round out your roster.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he's the biggest bat the Mets add, I think you're a little disappointed in that.
I wouldn't disagree, and that's why
Well, 'cause
I
in
think
theory, then he's your right-handed DH platoon to Daniel Vogelbach, and he gets at bats from probably gets some from Canna against lefties because Canna's been brutal against lefties this year.
right, yeah,
And
he has
and
reverse splits.
and you have to just understand, Marte's 33 and has had a couple injuries already this year, and Nimmo hasn't really had any, but that's very out of character for him.
Right.
So you still kind of look at it from the mindset of, in a scenario where we need next man up type at bats, if you have to plug Mancini into left field because because Marte goes down for 6 weeks and you move Canna to right, whatever, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's a drop off, sure, still, but that's much better than having to go call on Nick Plummer again, or you have to give Escobar Guillorme more at bats because you have to shift McNeil to the outfield, whatever it may be. So it's still obviously an upgrade.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's those feel like marginal ads.
Yeah, like Vogelbach is very much a depth type of move where you're
The lighting
just
sucks again.
yeah. Vogelbach is very, like I said, clearly a fill out the roster, someone to mash against righties kind of guy. And there's nothing wrong with kind of taking the approach that the Braves did last year, where you're acquiring guys that are good at one thing. Like Vogelbach mashes righties, Mancini mashes lefties. If you get another guy that just fills out the roster that is more of a defender, go for it. But I don't feel like that's the way Steve Cohen and Billy Epler want to operate things.
I think it very well could be.
It could be, but I think he brought in Billy Epler for his aggressiveness when trying to acquire players. I mean, look at the offseason he had with getting Escobar, Canna, and then Marte and Scherzer. He goes for the big name guys. He goes for the big splashes. And I was talking to our mutual friend John Flanagan the other day, and I feel like if they pull the trigger on a Mancini deal now, that gives you almost a full week. Like, let's just say they trade for Mancini before the game starts tonight. That gives you almost a full week. Actually, it gives you one full week to work on one big more move. And that's the way I feel like they're trying to go about things here. They got Vogelbach. Let's just say tonight they get Mancini and a reliever. You have one more week to just boulder down and get the one big time splash. Whether I'm not saying it's going to be Juan Soto. I want it to be, but it's not going to be.
I can all but guarantee you it won't be him.
I don't think. In the past couple of days,
the Red Sox are moving.
I don't think Juan Soto gets dealt this year. I think he gets straight in the offseason.
I think he gets dealt at the deadline, but people have this weird thing of Steve Cohen gets his way. And they're like, no, if fucking Mike Rizzo doesn't want to trade him to the Mets, he won't trade him to the Mets.
Which is a stupid way to go about it. But
Mike Rizzo doesn't even want to trade Josh Bell to the Mets.
Right.
That's just how he operates. He doesn't like to trade in division. It's stupid. It's outdated. But it's how he rolls.
Like, he's not even going to have a job in a couple months. What does he care?
Well, because he's probably trying to be able to explain himself for interviews come the winter. Kansas City's probably gonna open up.
Probably,
a couple other places. But no, I mean, he doesn't like to trade with the Mets as is.
Right.
And I think Soto is some pipe dream that fits into the Uncle Stevie whatever narrative.
It's very much a pipe dream.
Which is all just stupid because you have to be realistic at the same time. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same way in life as it is with the Mets. Like, setting unrealistic hopes and expectations that look like they're bound to be failures from the jump is only gonna knock you down a bunch of pegs.
Right.
It's not just, like the Mets don't have whatever, or there's a bunch of teams in for Juan Soto. It's the team that has Juan Soto does not trade with the Mets. Right. I think the last trade the Mets and Nationals made was Gary Blevins for Matt Dendecker.
Yeah.
Because the Mets needed a lefty, the Nationals needed an outfielder. That's, I think, the last move they made.
And that was probably before Mike Rizzo's time there.
Probably. That was spring of 2015.
I don't know when Rizzo got there, to be honest.
I don't know.
But
it's not going to happen. The Red Sox aren't going to trade Devers or Bogarts.
No.
There is no big splash. There is no
would you consider JD Martinez a big splash?
No, because he's been brutal for the last 45 games. He has just been. I think his last 30 games, his slugging was under 400. He has just been brutal.
There are a couple of names in my head that
As he stands
I would
at
still
this,
consider a big splash, but we'll see.
as he's well, it's the difference between big splash name wise or big splash what they've been doing lately or how they've been performing this year. I mean,
Right.
JD Martinez
Still a 300 hitter.
in the month of July hit 254, 290, 407.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the month of July, that is a 694 OPS. You
Yeah.
have one of those. His name is JD Davis. It's a little bit more power output, but still, like, he had a ginormous May. He was good in June. Actually, he hasn't even his last 2 months, the months of June and July, he has a 713 OPS and a 697 OPS respectively.
Yeah.
He hasn't been good since May. It's not, it feels like a very, that to me feels like a very short-sighted move in the sense of he has name value. He was a great deadline acquisition 5 years ago, or acquisition. And he just hasn't been good this year or in the last 2 months.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it'd still be significantly more production than the DH spot that we're getting right now, which is why I still think it would be an upgrade. But I also get your point where recently, this is very much a what have you done for me lately kind of league, and he hasn't done much lately.
Especially at the deadline. And I think if you're the Mets, you don't want to just bring someone in for the sake of bringing them in, because you have still a viable option in AAA in Vientos.
Right.
Epler said 2 days ago is close.
It's close. Right.
But so if you now bring JD in for the sake of bringing in JD Martinez and he puts up a 700 OPS with 8 homers over the next 2 months, who's to say Mark Vientos can't just do that?
No, you're right.
I mean, the last 2 months of JD Martinez is 4 homers and a 700 OPS.
Yeah.
I promise you that Mark Vientos
has been disappointing this year.
It just hasn't been good.
Yeah.
And I think if you're the Mets, the one thing you need more than anything else right now is a high power bat. You need a bat with high ISO that will be able to drive in runs. You need a power bat.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think, like, when people throw Andrew Benintendi out there, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. It kind of he fits the Mets mold this year, but
you're trying to break that mold at the deadline.
Exactly. He's a contact guy. He's not going to strike out. He'll get the runner in from third with less than 2 out, and that has a place in baseball.
But you have 5 of those already.
Right. Exactly. You have a guy like that in Jeff McNeil already. Brandon Nimmo.
McNeil,
7 of the 9 guys in the lineup can do that on a regular basis. So Benintendi's nice, and I think he would make this team better, but that's not really what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy that in the, 7 weeks in the regular season that's left, that'll mash 15 homers.
Right, which I think is why a guy like Vogelbach makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because you see the power potential.
Yeah.
So I think if you can find a guy to complement that, I mean, I still think their best course of action is to find, maybe you decide Mancini's the guy to complement Vogelbach in a DH platoon, and they're your first 2 bats off the bench. Those are 2 great bats to start off the bench with.
For sure.
And then maybe you go and you get Contreras, you slide Contreras into the catcher spot.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think you need to bring in bats that can clear bases.
Yeah.
The analytical way of looking at it, you need high WRC plus guys with high ISOs. ISO is the difference between batting average and slugging, for those of you listening who don't know. So you need guys who, even if they're hitting 230, 240, are still slugging in the 400s. Ideally, Vogelbach against righties coming into his debut with the Mets had a 272 isolated power against right-handed pitching.
Yeah.
He should never see the light of day against the lefty.
No. Although, there are some times where, tonight against Montgomery, how much worse could he be against Montgomery than JD Davis? Because let's face it, Davis this year, it's not good against lefties. I think he's like 225 against them. That's
Yeah.
like supposed to be his calling card. So I get that Vogelbach should not be starting against a lefty, but he probably has as good of a shot to get into one and lean into one than JD Davis right now. I know he's not going to
Yeah.
start, but just my thought. But like we've said, the two things right now that this team needs offensively is someone that could hit the ball out of the park, drive in some runs on a consistent basis. And my goodness, does this team need production from the catching position? I know offense isn't the main thing that you need from a catcher right now, especially with this team when you have guys that when they live into potential in the back of their baseball card can be offensive, not powerhouses, but this could be, I mean, we've seen it for how long? Like they were putting up 5 to 6 runs a game, no problem. But it's getting to a point now where Escobar is struggling, Canna is struggling a little bit. Some guys in the lineup just aren't doing what they've done early in the season. And then you have a 7-8-9 of JD Davis, Luis Guillorme, and Tomas Nido. They're not automatic outs, especially Guillorme right now, but kind of feels like, all right, Mark Canna got a leadoff hit, and then it's out, out, out.
Yeah.
So if you get a Wilson Contreras, hell, even a Christian Vasquez, that's a guy that can, those are guys that can call good games, throw out base runners, and occasionally get into one.
No, I think Vasquez is definitely a reasonable place to start if you're looking to upgrade a catcher. I mean, maybe you decide Mancini's the guy you bring in to platoon your DH, and you go to Boston for a reliever Vasquez combo. I think that's definitely a call worth making. I mean, I haven't understood why people think they wouldn't want to upgrade at catcher. I mean, Nito, his arm has looked good and he's been fine defensively,
Right.
but
Well, I think I know.
you just can't have a 500 OPS walking into the playoffs.
No. And I think the reason why people are a little, I can't say afraid about trading for a catcher is just like, oh, how's it going to affect Alvarez? It doesn't. If this team wants Alvarez to start next year, he'll start next year no matter who's on this roster. Christian Vasquez, much like Wilson Contreras, is a free agent after this year. He's on a cheap deal. And he's not Mike Piazza. But you know what? He's better than James McCann. He's better than Tomas Nido. He's better than Patrick Mazeika. Again, he's already won a title. So if like he knows how to play in the playoffs, can throw out base runners, good defender, good framer, good game caller, and not the worst offensively. And he's going to be a lot cheaper than Wilson Contreras.
Right, and we have this every year of the rental whose asking price is seemingly through the roof.
That's Contreras this year.
That's Contreras this year. It was Scherzer last year. That's Contreras this year.
Though.
No, right, yeah, but even then, for 2 months.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting. I'm not sure if they make a move at catcher. I can absolutely see them just riding out McCann, Mazeika.
Oh, I can see that as well.
Nito as long as they can.
Yeah.
Just going from there. It would suck, and it'd be really unfortunate. And I don't think it'd be the right decision. But, the Mets are also in a weird spot where you have other – it's weird because, it doesn't feel like a burning hole because it's been this way for 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I think, when you're looking at these games, you almost just expect catcher's spot to be an auto out. And whatever you get out of it, yeah. You look at Escobar, you look at all that, and it's all right, you got to upgrade here. You look at DH, you're like, holy shit, we got to make a change. Look at catcher, and it's just kind of like, all right. Maybe that's just me, but it's weird because I think the catcher spot is completely overlooked as a major area the Mets need to improve.
Yeah, I was.
Especially considering where the state of catching in baseball is as a whole. If you can get a leg up there, especially going into the postseason. And if he walks, he walks. Who gives a shit?
He probably will. I very much believe that opening day next year, we're looking at Alvarez. So if you bring in a rental at catcher, whether it be Contreras or Vasquez, who cares? They're clearly not in the long-term plan. So what does it make a difference?
If anything, their insurance for, let's say Alvarez blows out his shoulder
Right.
in a game this year, or let's say he tanks all the rest of the year, and suddenly he's not penciled in as your April 1st catcher anymore.
Right. Who knows, man? I don't know. I think this is going to be a busy team at the deadline. I really do. And I mean, that's not a hot take in the slightest. That's, you ask anyone who knows anything about baseball, and they'll say the Mets are going to be one of the more active teams. I just feel like
Pat Regazzo, the Mets and Cubs have been discussing a potential package.
There you go.
Contreras and Robertson, centered around prospects not named Alvarez or Beatty.
Great. Fantastic. At that point, I'm sorry, make the deal. Like, if you're not trading Alvarez or Beatty, and you know this better than I do,
Alex Ramirez should be borderline untouchable right now.
I was gonna say before you,
if that man gets if he can bring his hands in just a little bit, that's a 5-tool center field prospect.
So if you trade, let's just say, I don't know anything. You just read the report. I know nothing about this.
I didn't even click the link. I just saw Pat's tweet.
Right. So let's just say this deal gets done, and it's
Contreras and Robertson to the Mets. I think you start with Mauricio.
Exactly. That was going to be my first name.
I would also be willing to start with Vientos if you're bringing in Contreras' bat.
Apparently, Thomas Apucky has value still.
Oh, he absolutely does, man. I put it out there yesterday. Some team is going to turn him into remember when Andrew Miller was like with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and he wasn't like Indians World Series, bat eater.
Right.
Andrew Miller, but he was still really fucking good.
Right.
He's got a legit fastball curve combo. He strikes a lot of dudes out. His walks are way down. He can't go more than like 3 or 4 innings in a start. There is going to be a team that's going to turn him into a legitimate major league reliever. He's going to be a damn good one for a handful of years, if not more. He absolutely still has value. I don't know if Chicago's the team to do that. I think if you're Chicago, you're enticed by Mauricio. I think you definitely look at Vientos and you look at what do they really have offensively?
After Contreras, not much. Nico Horner.
Well, I mean, just looking at next year and beyond. Horner's all right.
I'm not sure what Ian Happ's contract is. Schwindel's terrible without the juice ball. Patrick Wisdom's okay, but he strikes out 15 times a game.
No, I think you could probably slot
Christopher Morel's solid.
I think you could probably slot Vientos into the 4 or 5 spot for the next 2 or 3 years while you retool. I think he perfectly fits what they're trying to do, and that they're not rebuilding, but they're retooling.
Right. I think I have to say Suzuki too. That's probably their second best offensive guy right now.
Oh, no, he's definitely their best offensive player overall.
Right.
But I think if you're looking at what they're probably trying to do, he definitely fits that.
Yeah.
He definitely fits that.
Yeah, they're trying to do this expedited rebuild, and it's not working.
I think we've seen a lot of teams do this lately with the retool.
Right.
I mean,
hell, the Mets tried to do that. It didn't work, but
I mean, you could argue it is. I think it's more.
I'm talking the Brody approach of retooling.
Oh, well, they didn't have an approach.
No.
But no, I mean, it works for some teams, but other teams need the long, drawn out Baltimore style rebuild.
Right. Which started with the Cubs. They were the first one to do it. And that took forever, but it eventually got there. So but it's not like the Cubs have some overload of talented prospects that could trade. Like, people want to say the Cubs can get Juan Soto in the offseason. No, they can't. just because they can afford him and they can realistically pay his contract because they're a big market and they have a lot of money, that doesn't mean they can get Juan Soto.
They're not gonna get Juan Soto.
They're not going to get Juan Soto.
They're not.
Like
They're just not. Now, if Boston decides to move Devers, if they tank the rest of this year and Bloom decides to rebuild,
right
I could see them in on Devers. He makes the most sense of. I mean, I said it yesterday in a group chat. Like, if you're looking at stars who might be on the move the next year or two, we're not counting Ohtani because he makes sense. He makes sense for every team in baseball.
for sure.
You could argue Devers makes more sense for the Mets than Soto does.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, if we're even just looking at positionally, contractually, because you have to pay Nemo some big money, Pete some big money, Jeff will get decent money.
Jeff will get some money.
You're gonna have to start paying to keep guys around soon.
Yeah, very soon.
And
that's this offseason soon.
No, I mean, like Diaz might get himself a Raisel Iglesias contract. He might get $480. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed. I mean, if you tell me to keep Edwin Diaz, gotta give him 4 years, $80 million or $80 million total. Okay,
it's a lot for a reliever, but
I mean, Iglesias makes 21. Chapman makes in the 20s.
God, is it 20 for Iglesias?
He makes 21.
God,
He's on a 4-year, $84 million deal.
Was it that? I thought it was 64.
I thought it was 84. It might be 64. I don't know. Let's Google it. I know we're both going to right now.
Yeah, we should. Either way, that guy stinks. 4 for 58.
58. Where the fuck did I get 84 from?
I have no idea.
Maybe I'm dyslexic.
Maybe.
But no, they're gonna start paying to keep some guys around soon. So I think if the Mets don't make a big splash at the deadline this year, which is hard to because there really is one big splash guy that's available because the Angels aren't going to move Ohtani until next deadline.
Right.
But if you're looking at the big splash guys that are available, that might be available come winter, I think Devers is the most enticing name.
Yeah, because they're.
I mean, Xander just the same. Plug him at third.
For Xander, it goes back to my Correa conversation in the offseason. I know he's naturally a shortstop, but moving to third base. He's going to have to go there eventually in the later part of his career because of his size. And his defense isn't – it's not Lindor defense. It's good defense, but it's not nothing to write home about. Bring in one of those guys, plug him at third. That's why, I know the Red Sox are saying they're not going to sell. But let's just say in this next week or by Monday, they're looking at 1-5 in the next 6 games, which if you watch them this month, that's very possible. They might become sellers just by how they've done. Again, what have you done for me lately? And right now, the Boston Red Sox haven't done a damn thing besides lose and get absolutely blown out of the water. Give 28 runs the other day. So if you have another stretch like that, and in the offseason, you're going to have to pay JD Martinez because he can opt out, and he will. JD Martinez.
He's gone.
He's gone. JD,
I don't even
Devers, Bogarts. You can't keep all 3. In all likelihood, you can't keep 2 of them.
You also got Evaldi.
Right. So it's who one of those guys you're going to have to try to move.
I think it makes more sense to try and move
Bogarts. 100%.
So, I mean, Devers is arguably a top 10 player in baseball.
If you ask me, I think Bogarts is already a Cardinal.
Nah.
I think he's already a Cardinal. Whether it be trade or free agent, he's a Cardinal.
When was the last time the Cardinals made a big splash for a dude who wasn't white? I guess Ozuna. See, he's going to walk in the front door and Miles Michaelis is going to ask him about his vaccine stance. Did you see that? Did you see his comment?
Dude. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? I'm not trying to open this whole door here, but what are we doing?
It's bullshit. I mean, I'm praying if the Mets don't make the World Series, I'm praying to God the Blue Jays and the Cardinals have a World Series. Because you're going to got fucking Yadier Molina hitting cleanup. Going toe-to-toe with fucking Vladdy.
Good luck.
You fucking Paul Goldsmith's going to be at the border stuffing a needle up his ass on his way in. Nolan Arenado is doing his Aaron Rodgers routine on the way in. immunized but not vaccinated.
So funny you say that because I said that exact same thing at work yesterday. Just like he totally seems like a guy who's just like, nah, guys, trust me, I'm immunized. Okay, I can go to
Arenado?
Canada. Yeah,
I think Goldsmith's more that guy.
no,
I think they're both.
Arenado and Rogers from like the same area in California.
Well, I think they're both those guys. I think Michaelis is the guy who doesn't think COVID's real.
Oh, 100%. No, without question.
Michaelis. I need to know where Miles Michaelis was January 6th.
Yikes.
I need to know where Miles Michaelis was. He was with that Sports Talk Atlanta guy.
No, I wasn't going to say it, but I was thinking it. I wasn't going to say it, but we both had the same thought.
But did you hear Austin Riley's comments about after Atlanta's win the other night?
0-2 since then.
Yeah, tell the Mets are coming for him. They've lost a game and a half since. The Mets have only played one game.
Gave up a go-ahead home run to 190 hitting Bryson Stott.
The defense in the
we
first
love
couple
Bryson Stott, by the way.
Dude, the defense in the first couple innings of that game, just brutal. I mean, it's amazing how bad at first base Matt Olson has been compared to what he usually is.
It's amazing how bad at defense Reese Hoskin is. But we knew that.
Yeah, we knew that. But Matt Olson came in.
Like, listen, I'm not going to give him any flack for that one just weird hop that just like it was bouncing, just rolled. That was weird. But yeah, we saw it in the series against the Mets. He had like 2 errors that series and just misplayed a couple other ones. I don't know. I'll tell you who makes those plays, Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman makes those plays in his sleep.
Yeah.
Oh God. What were we even talking about?
I don't fucking know. What was I gonna say?
Canada.
Oh, quick. I'm just gonna throw this out there because it's coming up a bunch. When you're looking at the Mets trading for rental this year compared to what they've done in years before, specifically last year with the Pete Crow Armstrong move, you cannot compare trading Mauricio or Vientos or Allen or Ramirez or someone of that prospect stature for a rental. You cannot compare those because I think a lot of people forget PCA had massive shoulder surgery.
Oh yeah,
weeks into the year,
borderline complete reconstruction.
Right, the type of surgery that makes you question what are we doing?
Yeah,
what can this dude do? What can we bank on his rehab?
Yeah,
it is not a guarantee that people come back from that surgery. Now, it's not as bad as a TOS, but it's very much.
A guy that's sorry to cut you off. Also, a guy from a different regime, so it wasn't their guy.
Right, wasn't their guy. Coming off major shoulder surgery.
Yeah,
and he had a couple weeks of pro ball experience in him. That is not comparable to guys like Mauricio and Vientos.
Right.
Mauricio has effectively fallen out of respectable top 100s. Not to throw shade at certain publications.
Right.
But certain publications rely a little too heavily on guys' price tags when they sign or whether or not they're on the 40-man than the actual prospect talent there. You know, certain pipelines do that.
I wonder who you're referring to.
But you have a guy like Mauricio who's basically fallen out of all of them. Then you have Vientos, who's only ever really cracked Fangraphs top 100. And even then, a lot of that's based on the hit tool, which we all know is there. But he has an enormous ground ball rate. Mauricio is defensive, he's lost. He doesn't have a position. That is not comparable to a raw 18-year-old center fielder who everyone knew if he pans out is a 2020 center fielder.
Right.
Long term.
Right.
But he had just it was and I think people then forget Baez was awesome for the Mets. Baez was not the reason. Baez was not the reason the Mets missed the playoffs, or that the Mets collapsed. That was not Javi
Baez. His contract without being so good with the Mets.
No, he probably gets like 480 or 490. But he's not getting 120.
No.
I mean, his play with the Mets and the fact that his chase rate was down and his walk rate was up, and so was his hard contact rate. That got him those extra 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to understand the difference in those situations, because this isn't trading Mauricio or Vientos is not trading an 18-year-old off major shoulder surgery.
Right.
Like you said, borderline reconstruction. So I think that's a really important thing to kind of like just keep straight.
Right. Right.
I mean, disagree with me all you want, but I'm right.
It's like the one.
I mean, they're
why are you booing me? I'm right.
Right. It's like they're not really comparable situations.
No. That's why, like, you can't. I totally understood why they traded him last year. It made sense for a lot of reasons. One, you didn't know what it was going to be because of his health. Two, it wasn't their guy, so new regime, clear out all the stuff from the past year, with the exception of Brett Beatty. It's like it made sense, and it was also a guy that you envisioned keeping. They envisioned keeping Javi Baez. They thought he was going to be here on this team moving forward, but they had different plans, and Detroit threw an absolute bag at him because he couldn't get Correa.
Exactly.
It's a matter of circumstance. Do we now go what starts tonight?
Yeah, I just think we talk Subway Series. It'll be fun. I'm hopping on ESPN Syracuse a little bit to talk it.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. You're right. Pull shit out of your ass every now and then. No, but no, it'll be fun. I think SNY, so this is the first time that the Mets and Yankees have met, and both teams have been in sole possession of first place. We know how last year went. Some names have moved, but a lot of the characters are still there.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees are on a historically great pace. Do they still have a winning percentage in the 700s? 680. So they're 66 and 31. The Mets are 59 and 37. That's a 660 winning percentage and a 615. It'll be fun.
Two of the four best records in baseball. It's going to be a fun 2-game set. I'm a little disappointed it's not a 3-game set, but you know what? It is what it is.
It's better than nothing, man.
It's better than nothing. It's going to be like, I'm going to say exactly what you said. It's going to be fun. Tonight, Montgomery and Taijuan Walker. And then Wednesday, I'll be there. It'll be Max Scherzer against a living pile of garbage. So I'm looking forward to it.
Which one is that?
Herman.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't officially made that announcement, but that's the last thing that I saw was that it would be Herman. Let's see what MLB. Yeah, MLB.com still has,
TBD.
him. So we'll see. I feel like if you're a Mets fan, you kind of like the pitching matchups that you have. The only bad thing is that Montgomery throws his left hand, so there's a chance that the Mets might not get a hit. So there's that. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun. We all know what happened last time, like you said. We all know what happened the last game of that series with Lindor's 3-home run game. The whole whistling incident, the Stanton just stopping at second base.
Yep, Walker was here for that. He was involved in that. Scherzer, I feel like just pull beef out of the sky. That man can find issues wherever the fuck he wants.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it'll be a fun one. It'll be a really exciting one.
I'm like both teams are very good.
No, yeah, these are two very good baseball teams, and who knows? Like these teams might look different by tomorrow night's game.
Right.
Like, and that's I think it's a really cool thing about them meeting right now. Is we saw in the Padres series, Daniel Vogelbach made an impact in Game 3. He wasn't on the team for Game 1.
Yeah, he was on the roster for Game 2, but he wasn't there. Well, actually, no, yeah, he was there.
He wasn't going to get in against. No.
Yeah, no. I love that man already, by the way. I will say one thing. A certain Mets fan base group put out the nickname Big Sexy 2.0. Under no means.
It's funny because the only two that's associated with Big Sexy is the number of families he has.
Woof.
I was never a big Bartolo guy.
I know you weren't.
I'm still not.
We've had conversations.
Which awful fan base group are we talking about?
The one that
The-
sits out in center field.
Oh, the one that also claimed that Eduardo Escobar was ambulance out of City Field. And I was
The
like,
very
oops,
same.
I got pranked.
The very same.
The T-shirt company. That's what it is.
Right. We will not be calling him Big Sexy 2.0. That's just not going to happen. We will not be doing that. And hopefully, you won't either. If you're watching this, listening to us, whatever it is. We're not doing that. He's a different person. In all likelihood, a better person.
Probably has less families.
Probably. We don't know for a fact. I don't know the guy.
I mean, we'd really hope not.
Yeah. I mean, talking the guy up already.
At least they're like legitimate.
Right.
Or if anything, it's like, like he got a divorce and has a new family. That's fine.
Listen, it happens.
That's better than fucking hiding one from the other.
Divorce rate's 50% in America these days.
Right, it's like that. It's like it's an episode of American Dad and fucking
It's
Rogers.
an episode of every show.
Rogers running around with all his different families. Daniel Vogelbach, I hope you're better than that, and I believe you are. Don't give me a reason to think you're not.
Yeah.
Bartolo Colon, pick one. Go to church and repent.
Go to church, he says. Y'all need some Jesus. He had to stand up, take like 10 feet back, and sit down on a table, a desk, wherever you're sitting.
I'm on the back of the couch right now. I say, all right, this is our last episode before the deadline, right?
In all likelihood, unless you're trying to record in Canada.
Fuck no. We got to get... I get in Thursday morning. I'm going to Jays Royals. No, Jays Tigers, actually. I'm going to Jays Tigers at the Rogers Center.
So you'll be on Hug Watch a little bit then.
I guess. I'll be camping out at the airport on the day of the deadline.
Just chill out by the Tigers bullpen. See if Chafin or Soto or one of those guys just starts hugging people.
Where's Michael Fulmer going?
Where's he at?
He was here last inning and now he's gone.
He was warming up. I saw it.
No, I'm not recording in Canada.
Yeah, no, I didn't think you would.
So
But yeah, in all likelihood, this is definitely our last episode before the deadline.
Who do the Mets walk away from the deadline with? That'll be our hot takes for this week.
Yeah.
Who do they leave the deadline with?
Well, I already had one hot take locked in.
That's Mancini.
I'm not even that. I'm saying by tonight's game, a trade is announced. I'm saying by tonight's game, so by 7:10, the Mets will make another trade. I don't know whether it be Mancini, Contreras, whoever, but the Mets will make a trade by tonight. But at the deadline, or I guess by August 2nd at 4:01.
At the airport by then. I'll stand near. I'll watch all the gates. I'll stand near TSA. Watch.
Love that.
Guys in Toronto Blue Jays jerseys coming in and out.
The Mets will walk away with Trey Mancini, one of their relievers. I don't know what name it is, but the way this regime is gone, they kind of like to pull off things that we're not expecting. There's going to be an unexpected trade in there that we're not expecting now, but by then, obviously, we'll know about it. There's a trade in there. I don't know who it is. I don't know if the White Sox start losing, if they trade off like Abreu.
I got mine.
Are you sticking with your... Reynolds is back, by the way.
He is. No, but the injury killed that one. I will say they're going to walk away. See, a lot of talk now is the catcher reliever package. I think they're looking at the wrong team.
Okay.
Right general area, wrong team. I think you got to be looking at Detroit.
You talking Eric Haas and Gregory Soto?
I am. Gregory Soto is probably the best reliever on the market overall.
It's him or Robertson. Yeah.
It's him or Robertson. Eric Haas is a solid catcher.
Stinks defensively.
Sure, but who cares? Who cares? I mean, it's like a 775-ish OPS, which I think you have to remember, for catchers in today's game, that's good.
I mean, Vasquez is like a 750.
Right. Him and Haas are right there. I think that's I think that's the area the Mets look.
I'm not sure what Contreras is. I'm gonna have to.
He's got like an 808, something like that. But if you're concerned about his ability to mesh with the rotation,
847 for Contreras.
847. Oh wow. But if you're concerned about his ability to mesh with the rotation, I'm just not sure if that's the right guy then. I mean, Haas is 37th percentile framing, 62nd pop time, 72nd in sprint speed. Very random for a catcher.
I didn't expect that.
And we know what Gregory Soto is.
Haas can also play some outfield. Again, horribly, but he can bring a glove out there. We'll see. I don't know if that's quite splash territory, but I think it's an offensive upgrade.
I think, as we've been talking about, there isn't necessarily a splash at this deadline. Trey Mancini's not a splash.
No, listen,
Josh
Trey
Bell's the
Mancini's
closest.
A nice piece.
He's got 750 OPS. He's a DH. He struggles against righties. He's a nice complementary piece. I mean, I guess Josh Bell is the closest thing to a splash.
I think you put all your cards on the table and go for Devers. They're not going to go for it, but why not give it a shot? I know. Listen, I know you're going to say it's not going to happen. You still try for Juan Soto. If Mike Rizzo picks up the phone and says we're not trading in division, if you're Steve Cohen, you're Billy Upper, say what will it take for you to trade in division? Because this is not a guy that you just like. Well, they said no. Okay, you're trading for a modern day Ted Williams. This is a guy that's 23 and on a down year has a sub 900 OPS. He still walks more than he strikes out. His power is stupid. He's only going to get better.
I don't think you have to convince anyone Juan Soto is good. You just have to convince Mike Rizzo that you can.
If you give up, because they want a package of minor leaguers and controllable players with, team control left. They need pitching. So if you have to give up a David Peterson or Tyler McGill, fine. If you have to package, I know guys don't want to, but Mets fans, if you have to package Francisco Alvarez and Brett Beatty and Ronnie Mauricio and Alex Ramirez to get Juan Soto, you get Juan Soto. I don't care. I'll sell the farm. Name the team the New York Juan Sotos. I don't care. Take on Patrick Corbin's contract. I don't care. Yeah, Corbin stinks, but you know what? You throw him into the bullpen. It'll be a $30 million reliever. He's still better than Joely Rodriguez. You give it your best shot to get Juan Soto. That's a franchise-altering move.
Agreed.
And you can still pay him for relatively cheap for the next 2 years before you have to give an absolute bag out. And if he says, you know what, I don't want a mega deal, okay, give him 4 years, $180 million. Who cares? Not my money. Steve Cohen could afford it.
Yeah, that's what I love.
And then you can go back in free agency at 28 and get a 12-year deal for $1 billion. That's my take.
I think we just need to wait and see what the ask on Contreras and Robertson is.
Yeah. And that's another thing.
I mean, if that's too much, I think Soto Haas is a fine bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. This team is going to make moves. I don't think anyone can say the Mets aren't going to make a couple moves. They're bound to make a couple moves here. They're going to be a better team.
I mean, it's not really being talked about just because it's not a headline grabbing name or whatever. But Gregory Soto would be an insane add to that bullpen.
He's disgusting.
He's filthy.
Look up his highlights, guys. He has some of the nasty stuff, especially once he can control his pitches. And once you get into the Jeremy Hefner pitching lab, you'll be able to control his pitches.
No, I mean, the Tigers don't really have any motivation to move Soto.
No, because he's got control.
But even if you got to go to Chafin or Fulmer, that's fine.
Get a lefty. Trade Dom Smith or Jake Diekman. See if that works. I don't know.
That's all I got.
That's Subway Series tonight. I'm looking
I gotta
forward to
go.
it.
I am too. I gotta be at the airport at 4:15
In the
on
morning.
Thursday. I've never been
So
through customs before.
is this
I
your first
might
time flying?
flying internationally.
That's true.
I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see. I work until like 3. I'm gonna come home and sleep. Wake up for the Subway Series game. Take a cat nap after that. Then probably. Well, I don't know if it's the Mets offense. If it's the Mets offense, and the way the Yankees have been swinging the bat lately, game itself might put me to sleep. But yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off. And then I'm fucking going to a Royals game that night.
Golly, sleep on the plane. How long's the flight? That's got to be
2.5.
That's only 2.5. Wow. All right, man.
All right, so
Any
we
final
got our
thoughts?
I mean, I don't know what to expect. I think the big thing is
But doesn't that make it better? Doesn't that make it
does.
more exciting
It
as a
does.
Mets fan, as a
no, I
baseball
mean
fan?
we're a week out and we don't even know what Chicago's ask for Robertson Contreras is.
Right, because like
At Beatty.
let's even look back at last year. Last year, we were sitting right here on this very same spot, and you pretty much knew what the Mets were going after, what they were doing. Like at that point, we already knew Baez is likely going to be a Met. They were maybe going to go after Trevor Story, but the main thing they're going after was Baez.
But the most talked about name around that was Jalen Palmer.
Right.
But it turned out that the ask was Crow Armstrong, and Zach Scott was more willing to meet the ask and get the player than to keep his cards close to his chest.
Right.
No, I mean it always comes down to who blinks first.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, Billy Epler's shown a tendency to blink very quickly.
Look at Pittsburgh. He gave up Holderman because the Pirates dug their feet in on getting that guy. Which, hey, listen, whatever.
He's a reliever.
I'm not going to get upset over a guy that's going to be a 7th inning guy in his career. That's fine. You could have Vogelbach for 2 years after this. Destroys righties. It is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk again after the deadline.
All right, man. As always, make sure you follow on Twitter at the Amazin Citi, Antonio Slater, Jack W. Ramsey. Subscribe on YouTube. It's Amazin Citi Pod on there. We'll have the links everywhere. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us all over the place. Unfollow. Make another account. Follow there. Make a dog account. Follow on that one.
Don't follow me with your dog account. I fucking hate those.
Listen, I'm just saying make it
Don't make
shoot the dog.
Don't make an
don't actually
Instagram for your,
post.
don't make a Twitter for your dog. I'm gonna block you.
I'm not going.
Nasty ass white people. Says a nasty ass white guy.
Says Florida man.
Says Florida man who was born and raised by New England Italians.
There you go, man.
LFGM. Get it over with.
And as always, LFGM.